Resume this portion of the meeting for public comment. We have several cards.
13.
We have 13 cards. Commissioner Woodward, you want to go ahead and call a couple names?
Yes, we have Bethany Garina, Fane Lozman, Ashley Ricker, and Michael Watson. To start, we have 2 microphones.
Okay. Come on down.
We have 2 mics, so you can line up on either side. Please, absolutely.
Good afternoon. My name is Bethany Jarina, and I am here today to tell you my story as a resident of Palm Beach County and a proud supporter of the Palm Beach County Library System. The year of 2018 was a rough start for my son being born 6 weeks early. Fast forward a few months and my mom suggested that I try a story time at the local library. Little did I know that our first adventure out would also be the start of a new chapter for my family. It was at that story time that I noticed my son literally taking it all in, and I knew immediately the importance of the classes for his development. We all got library cards and began to find the ease of access to check out a variety of materials. We started seeking out other classes at other branches as well, and thus became official library hoppers. Then COVID hit, and the library is what kept it going for us. We attended virtual classes and connected with some incredible librarians, of which we have made lasting friendships with. We also picked up crafts and materials that were available, which kept things as normal as possible for us. The transition back into society was hard, but the library became my son's safe place. My son was reading by the age of 4, and I'm proud to say, as a homeschool mom, that he is currently academically a grade level ahead and multiple grade levels ahead in his reading. I have our library to thank for providing so many resources, an amazing variety of classes, programs, concerts, and cultural experiences that have helped and continue to help shape and develop my son's young mind. What our system provides for our young ones is none short of incredible. On the flip side, my mother, who also started attending a variety of classes that are offered for seniors. It was in the library where she found a love for art in her old age, and she recently had a wellness exam, and her doctor could not believe her fantastic lab results. The doctor asked my mom, "What have you been doing?" My mom's answer was simple: going to the library. I do also want to mention that when I can, I attend classes with my mom as well. The time that I get to spend with her, tap into my creativity, has also brought me such a balance to my life personally. Now, there was one time about a year ago at the last minute I could not attend a class with my mom, and my husband ended up going in my place. It was at that point in time when he discovered his natural ability for art. This has also brought a sense of balance to his life personally as a police officer. All in all, the Palm Beach County Library System has affected my entire family in the most profound ways. We are so incredibly blessed to live in an area that has one of the best, can I finish? And if not argumentatively, the best library systems around. I thank you for supporting the library, and I encourage you to continue to support the library's mission. Thank you.
And Bethany, thank you so much for being there when we did the ribbon cutting on the new bookmobile. And it was wonderful. It was a pleasure to meet you and your family.
Yeah.
And your son got to take part in the ribbon cutting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Fane Lozman, Singer Island. When I was here last month, we talked about the
Hold on one second. Fane, this gentleman was actually ahead of you, so we're going to let him go first. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Watson. I've lived in Palm Beach County for 75 years, and the last 25 years I lived at 1584 Prairie Road. I want to discuss the county, the developer trying to get the county to change the zoning at 1580 Prairie Road. I'm here to express my strong opposition to the proposed rezoning of the property at 1580 Prairie Road from single-family residential to multifamily residential. This is not just a matter of change, but rather one of preserving the established character, safety, and quality of life that drew us all to this community in the first place. We bought our homes and invested our lives here with the understanding and promise that the existing single-family zoning laws would be maintained. The proposed change is a significant departure from these laws, and we were promised in our deed restrictions. The introduction of a high-density apartment complex is fundamentally out of character with the surrounding single-family homes. Rezoning to a multifamily apartment complex would dramatically reduce the property values of existing homes and affect the financial investment made by long-term residents. We've invested here both financially and emotionally because of the character and peace and quiet of a low-density single-family neighborhood. Changing the zoning breaks the promise of our long-standing deed restrictions and undermines the stability of every existing homeowner. Furthermore, we have to discuss the fact that increased density brings a substantial increase in surge in traffic. The current infrastructure will be strained with the added load of hundreds of additional vehicles, leading to congestion and potential safety hazards. Forest Hill Boulevard is already backed up almost to I-95 every evening and traffic, and Prairie Road is nothing but an escape route for cars trying to beat the light at Congress Avenue and speed down Cherokee Creek and Shawnee Roads just to get to Congress. With the proposed 69 units and 2 vehicles per unit, that means there'll be an additional 140 vehicles 2 times per day, not to mention the already 30 to 40 vehicles 2 times per day of people that attend the AA meetings next door at the shopping center. Traffic will be backed up for blocks trying to enter Forest Hill Boulevard, and the single-family residents will not be able to get out of their driveways. Our single-lane roads are currently designed only to support the existing population density. Therefore, we respectfully urge the zoning board to respect our neighborhood, protect our property values, and preserve our community character and quality of life by voting no on this rezoning proposal change.
Thank you,
The
sir.
only people that will benefit by this change will be the developer and the contractor, and when they're gone, the residents
Thank
will
you,
be
sir.
left with a traffic nightmare.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bill had something positive to say. You let her speak. That was nice.
Sir,
Positive to say. You let her
Fane, you're up next. Thank you.
Good afternoon again. Fane Losman, Singer Island. When I was here last month, we talked about sole source vessel remover after hurricanes. I said Prudential with the largest insurance, Progressive. Apologize for that. So after they bring what's called the CAT team, and they just assign all the jobs to CTO. CTO sometimes can take 3 to 6 months to get all those boats out. They create pollution, needless pollution. My suggestion is to have an ordinance that after 24 hours, any salvage company registered with the county can go pull those boats out. And we saw what happened to Hurricane Melissa. Hurricanes are getting stronger, as you know, every year after year. I came here today. I became an activist fighting political corruption and for the First Amendment when I lived in North Bay Village. It all started over a wheelchair ramp. I wanted to give my neighbor a wheelchair ramp, a World War II veteran, and the marina owner said no. So even though you have a reasonable accommodation under the ADA to have a ramp coming into a public building and stuff like that, it doesn't apply to marinas. So we decided to fight that out, and we lost. Ultimately, we lost. But the marina was owned by a mob guy, and he had corrupted a local politician. We found out about it. I took that information to Kathy Rundle, and we got that guy busted and arrested, that local commissioner. And then it morphed into a whole thing where 4 out of the 5 elected officials were removed from office for 9 months, all started from a wheelchair ramp. I'm here today because that lawyer who we fought it out with is fighting out the pregnant woman parking permit. Have you heard about that lawsuit from last week? A pregnant woman can use an ADA spot, can use a placard spot for disabled people. That was signed into law back in June. We should have a parking permit for pregnant women, separate spaces, separate than for regular people. You know, regular handicapped people. So that's why I'm here to talk about, we need to have extra parking spots for pregnant women, because if this ADA lawsuit prevails, they're going to have no place to park. So that's why I came here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Ricker. I'm Mike Watson's daughter. We live at 1584 Prairie Road, which is right next door to the proposed 1580 Prairie Road project. Last night, about 85 people attended the meeting at the Summit Library regarding the company Elite Capital and Company Limited trying to rezone the piece of land at 1580 Prairie Road in unincorporated West Palm Beach. This piece of land has been occupied by a church since 1961. The land sits right next to my father's home where I grew up. We run a small family business, and this business is also where I grew up, my daily address where I traveled to and from work. At the meeting last night, the developers were very arrogant. They introduced themselves as the bad guy as soon as we walked in to sign the sign-in sheet. They were unprepared to answer questions like what is the rent cost for each individual unit, breaking it down to 1, 2, and 3 bedroom, even 15 600-foot efficiencies. They had no pricing. They were also unaware of the G-Star Charter School that is located on the south side of Prairie Road that already has its own traffic issues during busy mornings and afternoons. They lied to us about several things, starting with they told us at the beginning of the meeting that the land would not have to be rezoned to build this 69-unit apartment complex, which was absolutely a lie. They also stated there is no wildlife on the property that will be disturbed. Well, every neighbor in this community can tell you there is definitely wildlife on this land. There are raccoons, turtles, many foxes, and actually 2 bald eagles who have an active nest on the waterway. The developers were rude, condescending. Their only excuse was that Palm Beach County needs more affordable workforce housing. We definitely do not need that, as we are absolutely busting at the seams in this area. With a simple public record search, we've all been able to see that this company, Elite Capital and Company Limited, has a clear business plan listed on their website to focus on the Government Future Financing 2030 program. Why is this even being considered in unincorporated parts of this town? This company's headquarters is based out of London. This is what we're gonna do to our beautiful town. Commissioner Flores, this is your district. We are your constituents, and we do not want this. Less than a year ago, developers built 264 units at the New Adira Apartments in Palm Springs. This is built less than half a mile from where these developers want to build. We also have another apartment complex that is in the process of being built off of 10th Avenue, and now off of Congress, just before the old farmers market, there is another lot that is getting ready to be developed. You all are responsible for overcrowding this area. We do not want this. I don't understand how you guys can be so concerned with climate change, yet you're willing to sacrifice one of the only pieces of land in this area that is still being inhabited by animals. I mean, I do not understand what is going on here. The American dream is not to live in a 600 square foot efficiency. It's to live in a single family home.
Just to let you know, there's no date been set yet for our board to hear this, but when there will be notification, and you can check zoning agendas, and you can check our commission agendas.
You will be here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have Aaron Adkis, Carol Tagnacci, Candace Rojas, and Daniel Schindelbeck. Schindelbeck. I don't, sorry.
Could the second lady go first, because Aaron and I are continuing a topic? So could you go first?
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you.
I need a Ready? My name is Carol Tagnacci. I live at 2860 Cherokee Road. I am also here due to our meeting that we had last night at the Summit Library, and the presentation that they attempted to give us in regards to the project that we can expect to be neighbors with. The entire presentation was done as if this is a done with project and that we would have no say in this. Ashley was correct that a lot of things that we were told were not true. I read through the application, and there were many things that were false in that application. He told us that the impact on the traffic would be 16 units, but when you look at the traffic that they had listed there was an increase of 388 units. There's also going to be a impact on the schools for which they're going to have to pay the school board for. I forget what they called it, but it was some kind of an impact tax or something for the school board. The traffic, if you're not aware, the only way to get to Prairie Road coming south on Congress is to go down Cherokee Road. There is no exit to go onto Creek Road. There's no way to go onto Shawnee Road. The only thing you could do is take the light at Forest Hill and Congress. Afternoon traffic, I come here from the courthouse every day. Traffic is from just past Gun Club. We now are bumper to bumper. Sometimes it takes me 35, 40 minutes to get from Southern Boulevard to Cherokee Road. And now we want to put another 150 cars. It's not going to happen. It just can't happen. The other thing that he put on there was about the impact on the environment. As Ashley said, there is a lot of wildlife there. There's ospreys, there's hawks, there's the 2 eagles that he presented pictures of last night. The trees, they say they're going to be cutting down the trees. I don't know why. And I don't know if that's just on their property or all the way around the lake. That's all I have time for. But we definitely do not want this. We had a very large crowd last night. They did not expect it. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, this is not something that has come in front of the board yet. We've not reviewed it. So again, when there's a meeting notice, please check our zoning board and our county commission board for the notice.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Candace Rojas. I'm chairwoman of a PAC that is called the Palm Beach Patriots. I wanted to review an executive order, but before that, I had a few brief comments. One is I received a parking ticket from last time I was here, and I was wondering, as a suggestion, if you could create a policy where anyone who comes in here could get a voucher of some sort where you posted this particular garage between these 2 hours. If you come as the public can get a stamped parking, so we don't, I had 5 seconds after, and a lady came and gave me a ticket. Anyway, the next thing I wanted to mention is I work closely with a Changing Lives in Boca Raton. It's a homeless program. So although these people that are mentioning about the developers that are building, we do need workforce housing. So I don't know where you want to put it, but there's not rent that is affordable. Right now, I sent every one of you an email. There is a woman, a lady, a single mom with 7 children that's about to go out on the street. And I'd hope that one of you, out of the kindness of your heart, would check the email and try to help us. There is an initiative called Yes in God's Backyard. I think Commissioner Sachs did try that, and I think that's what we need to do, is partner with the churches and create tiny homes or secular homes, the tiny home community. The third thing is I emailed Governor DeSantis. I asked him to recall Sheriff Rick Bradshaw due to his office's failure of adequately protecting President Trump, and because he also weaponizes his sheriffs against the public. So the real reason I'm here is because my PAC believes in free and fair elections. I wanted to recite the executive order signed by President Trump on March 25th, 2025. It is called Preserving and Protecting the Integrity of American Elections. There are 10 points to it, and I'm going to get through as many as I can. The first one is called Purpose and Policy. Free, fair, and honest elections, unmarred by fraud, errors, or suspicion, are fundamental to maintaining our constitutional republic. And federal law establishes a uniform election day across the nation for federal elections. 2 USC 7 and 3 USC 1. Several federal laws, including 18 USC 1015, and 611 prohibit foreign nationals from registering to vote or voting in our federal elections, yet states fail adequately to vet citizenship. And in recent years, the Department of Justice has failed to prioritize and devote sufficient resources to enforce these provisions. And additionally, federal laws such as the National Voters Act and the Help America Voters Act require states to maintain an accurate and statewide list of every registered voter. Thank you. Aaron's going to continue
Vice Mayor?
that.
Vice Mayor Baxter?
Ms. Rojas, how are you? We have had several conversations, and I think we agree on a lot. I will say that I could not be more proud of what our sheriff has actually done to protect President Trump. He has gone above and beyond, providing deputies, extending his resources,
Objection.
and putting extra people out there to make sure that the president of our country is safe, well beyond what he needed to do, and especially prior to his reelection. So I would just like you to know that he has well exceeded what he could or was at minimally required to do. And to the point of our own president actually even supports our sheriff as well.
Okay. Well, I disagree with you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Erin Actis. I'm going to pick up from a resident in Jupiter, from Candace. I think she left off on section 3, which would be, this is the executive order provided March 25th, 2025. Apparently, President Trump doesn't think we're doing that great of a job if he had to write an executive order. So section 3, providing other assistance to states verifying eligibility, to assist states in determining whether individuals are eligible to register and vote. The Attorney General shall take appropriate action with respect to states that fail to comply with the list maintenance requirements of the National Voter Registration Act and the Help America Vote Act contained in 52 U.S.C. Section 4, improving the Election Assistance Commission to cease providing federal funds to states that do not comply with the federal laws set forth in 52 U.S.C., that states accept and use the National Mail Voter Registration Form pursuant to 52 U.S.C., documenting proof of U.S. citizenship. The Election Assistance Commission shall initiate appropriate action to amend the Voting Voluntary System Guidelines 2.0 to issue any appropriate guidance, amend guidelines, and other guidance shall provide that voting systems shall not use a ballot in which a vote is contained with a barcode or quick response code in the vote counting process except where necessary to accommodate individuals with disabilities, and should provide a voter verifiable paper record to prevent fraud or misuse. Within 180 days of the date of this order, appropriate action to review, recertify voting systems, certifications of voting equipment based on prior standards shall rescind all previous orders. Following an audit of the Help America's Voters Act, they shall report any discrepancies or issues with the audit, state certifications with federal law to the Department of Justice, the Secretary of Homeland Security, and Administrator of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Heavily prioritize compliance. Number 5, prosecuting election crimes. To protect the franchise of American citizens and their right to participate in free and fair, honest elections, the Attorney General shall take all appropriate action with the chief state election official, and they will aim to provide the Department of Justice with detailed information on these suspected violations. Those who registered or voted with ineligible or registered multiple times, committed election fraud, provided false information, intimidated or threatened voters or election officials, otherwise engage in unlawful conduct to interfere in election process. To the extent that any states are unwilling to agree or refuse to cooperate, the Attorney General shall prioritize federal funding, withholding of grants, and shall take appropriate action in litigation. Improving security of voting systems. Now that's pretty standard. I guess you can read that one, section 6, 7. My mic is off, or, okay.
Aaron, my microphone's dead too, so.
Can I get my 15 seconds back, please?
There you go. Yeah, we'll give you 15 seconds.
Thank
Go ahead,
you.
Erin.
Compliance with federal laws stating the national election day. To achieve full compliance with federal laws that set the uniform day for appointed presidential electors and electing members for Congress. The Attorney General to enforce 2 U.S.C. 7 and 3 U.S.C. 1 against states that violate these provisions, preventing foreign interference and unlawful use of federal funds. The Attorney General and consult with the Secretary of
Erin.
Treasurer will make sure all of these are.
That was more than 15, but thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Daniel Schindlebeck. I live on Cherokee Road. People have already spoke about the proposed apartment complex, 69 units. It's totally against the character of the neighborhood. We all live in, my yard's over 3/4 of an acre, and putting 69 rental units, and the renters on top of it. I mean, I know renters got to live somewhere, but my brother buys houses and puts renters in them, and every single time the neighbors are really upset when they find out. You know, people just, renters by definition just don't care about the neighborhood like the owners do. So putting 69 units of renters right into our neighborhood is going to be real negative for the neighborhood. So I'm opposed to that. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores.
Sir, I will completely disagree with you about renters. That is one thing I completely have to stand up for people. I mean, people have a right to rent. And for you to come here and say that renters are any different than anybody else, I completely disagree with that. You had me until that point.
Oh, so. By definition, renters do not have an invested interest. That you probably don't know what a renter is. People that purchase neighborhood, you can't see it here, but there was a meeting last night at the library, and it was standing room only of all the people, and there wasn't a single person there from the neighborhood that wanted this. And so I disagree with the renter thing, because they're not owners. They sign a lease. They don't have a vested interest. And I just think you don't understand the difference between a renter and a homeowner. Thank you.
And our next cards.
We have Jane Justice, Donna Sansom, Sheila Calderon, Linda Smith, and Robert Wood.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Jane Justice. Yeah, I'm here about the $9 billion budget here, which is really, it's outrageous already. I understand you just had some kind of secret meeting about a transfer in the budget to the sheriff's office. I don't know which administrator approved that, the new or the old one. But I'm not new here. And watching this go on for a couple of years, there's been a lot of money given to the sheriff, given to the SOE, and I'm all with these people. We need to stop building here, okay? But all this money's been given to them, and we begged and pleaded. We told you the elections were fraudulent. Nobody listens to what we have to say here, but we're here as a witness, okay? I talked to a friend who's a second-generation farmer out in Paoki. He's great. You know, his job is very important. I knew his father, and you know that poor man? Yeah, out in Paoki, the bus was shut down. The bus, the Palm-Tran, you spend a lot of money on Palm-Tran, and they shut the bus down. Now, is this all about 15-minute cities? Agenda 2030, pack all the people into the city. Yes, landowners matter here. Yes, we are the citizens here, right? We're not slaves, we're citizens, okay? And we're paying your salaries, but people can't wait to get the hell out of here now. I'm a realtor, okay? You know, I had somebody come to an open house. They want to buy something with $100,000 cash, okay? And what am I supposed to find them? all right? Listen, the people that are selling their properties, their low-income condos, their condos for the senior citizens, which I live in, can't wait to get the hell out of here, okay? Now, when are you going to give some of the taxes back? I want to ask you, the money that's being transferred from the budget, where are you transferring that from? Are you going to can you go back and get some of the money out of the $700 million you spent for Israeli bonds? If you don't mind, I pay a lot of monies out in charities. I would like to have the money that's due me, I would like to give it out myself. This commission needs to get it straight. The people are tired of the old overbuilding. I want to find out, what are you spending on this a so-called expert committee to find out what we're going to do about the car situation? The poor police officers, come on. They have an accident everywhere, on every corner. It's disgusting. Do you think we want to live with it all the time? You have a responsibility to protect the homeowners here. And yes, homeowners are more important than renters. Yes, they are. Thank you.
Ms. Calderon.
Good afternoon. Happy to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Sheila Calderon, and I live in Boynton Beach, Florida. I'm here today to speak, excuse me, on my concerns about plastic and other recycling pollution, and how your help is needed to accomplish its safe, statewide, and the very least for our county. If California, the whole state can do it, and Ontario, Canada, can at minimal get rid of plastic bags in the stores, we certainly should be able to do something about it here. Okay, it's almost 2 years since I sold my home, where I had recycled pickup at my door, and moved to Discovery Village, an independent living facility. It's been very difficult for me to relate to when I moved there. I simply asked if they had a heated pool, because that was very important to me, and failed to ask anything about recycling, and took it for granted it was done all over. Well, I was very wrong, very wrong. As the story progresses, I save up what I can and bring it to the Solid Waste Authority on my own, their location. Along with that, we have a happy hour every Friday. Okay, at this happy hour, I'm sitting there and I'm watching them bring the cans over to the garbage pail. Well, that drove me absolutely bananas, okay? So now I have them save up the cans and the bottles from happy hour, and I take them over to the Solid Waste Authority. When I saw the staff bringing them over, I just couldn't believe it. You know, how can you just keep throwing this stuff away when it's doing damage to the environment? At any rate, and so I am here to ask that you use your best efforts, and I realize that there is state problems involved with this. I'm not unaware of that. I've already spoken to legislators, etc. And change the state legislators to get to them, to put whatever efforts you can behind changing the legislation to make a change that would require recycling and recycling pickup. This is important for our environment and to reduce the pollution caused by this. It's important also to the environment of our ocean, okay? I'm sure that you all are very, very well aware of what is done to our magnificent sea animals, creatures, that is a result of plastic. Okay, I guess I'm just about finished, so I will say thank you for your attention to this and very, very serious problem, and I hope you will do some effort behind it. Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Donna Sansone. I live at 148 Sheffield G in Century Village, West Palm Beach. I had emailed all of the commissioners a couple of weeks ago to explain what I was going to be presenting here today. I am the committee woman for Precinct 8607 for the Republican Party of Palm Beach County. This is one of the precincts located in Century Village, West Palm Beach. Century Village has 7,854 units, 309 condominium associations, and 5 voter precincts, composed of Century Village residents only. Precinct 8602 contains only one subdivision with 9 associations and approximately 118 registered voters. It is the only Century Village section in District 7. The other 4 precincts are located in District 2. Apparently, the North Canal that runs through Century Village was used as a natural boundary, and we recently purchased the village, that canal, just earlier this year. So, I'd like you to know also, this is a bipartisan effort. I have been in contact with the Democratic counterpart for my precinct, Les Rifkin, who also, I believe, knows Commissioner Powell from District 7. And this is nothing against District 7. I'm just trying to get Century Village to be all under one district. Even in that section, we also have a clubhouse, 2 pools, and a gym. And so the bulk of Century Village residents don't get to vote on any issue that might impact that area. So I'm happy to, I've done the work on the demographics. I don't know if anybody has read them. The most percentage changes for any demographic is less than like 0.1%. So that should not be an issue. And I would greatly like to have this done before the next commissioner for District 2 election next year, to give all of Century Village the opportunity to vote for their new commissioner. And I'm happy to get any petitions if you need, anything you need, just ask.
Just to let you know, at our last board meeting, Commissioner Weiss brought this up, so it's already been, it is being looked into.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hey, Linda?
Hello. Linda Smith, Jupiter, Florida, Sierra Club, Loxahatchee Group. I'm going to start with a quote. "We are in a race between education and catastrophe," by H.G. Wells, 1920. This past Sunday, Palm Beach County celebrated America's Recycle Day. It was a great event, and it highlighted the 4 R's. Rethink, purchase items in bulk with less packaging, reduce, put off the new shiny purchase until you really need it, reuse, take serviceable items to Goodwill or Resource Depot, and recycle, paper, cardboard, bottles, cans. That's the one everybody really recognizes of the R's. We also learned about the lesser-known hazardous recycling. I hope everyone here knows batteries are hazardous. You don't just put it in your trash. But does everyone know that they need to take their batteries to the hazardous waste drop-off spot? You should have data on that, how many batteries actually still get put into garbage compared to going to the hazardous facilities. Did you know charging cubes are hazardous waste? TVs, computers, cell phones, tablets, even smartwatches and paint are hazardous materials. We have a great program to recycle paint. People send doors and windows to Habitat for Humanity. If they knew more about the point of the paint, they would be more likely to take it to the hazardous waste facility to be turned into paint for homes that need it. I want to make a connection between actions and reactions like that paint. Recycling 1 aluminum container can power a TV for 3 hours. Recycling paper and cardboard can save over 250 trees. Tree hugger, guilty. I hope you knew that there's a bin for many types of single-use plastics at the hazardous waste facilities. They even have some for these plastic bags that everybody's all talking about. So let's try to do the right thing. Businesses are helping to educate. Home Depot takes back power tool batteries, but we need more. Gymnasiums need bins for power drinks. Offices need bins for office paper and cardboard. Residents in all multifamily communities needs all types of recycling. Restaurants need commercial composting, and we all know how to do this already. You do a very good job on single-family residences. We need to expand it and to educate the public. I think we've forgotten. And I want to thank you again for installing the recycle bin in the courtyard outside downstairs and outside these chambers. But every time I come, I pull recyclables out of the trash can that's right next to the bin and put it in the recycle can. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Wood. I reside in the Prairie Park section of West Palm Beach, and I too am here to oppose the land use change of the parcel located at 1580 Prairie Road. A traffic analysis report was performed in August by a private company, and I do not believe that report reflects the true future impact of the local streets and major arteries of Forest Hill Boulevard and Congress Avenue. There are already too many accidents and traffic hazards at these outlets, especially during rush hour. The proposal would create approximately 150 plus new vehicles on our already over-congested streets. I feel that this would be highly irresponsible and not in the best interest of our community. Accidents will skyrocket, as will our death rate and insurance rates. So I would like to challenge the study performed by the Pinder Troutman Consulting Company and have the county perform a second analysis, if that's possible, as it does not seem logical that they have concluded that there would be no significant impact on traffic in our area during the peak commuting times, in particular, morning, afternoon when the traffic is heaviest. Apparently, the study was done in early to late August, and as everyone knows, this is the slowest time of the year in Palm Beach County and in Florida in general. I would argue that perhaps this study should be conducted in January at peak season and when schools are in session. That would just make sense. This seems to me to be horribly flawed and biased, favoring the developer, Philippe Boucher. I and the residents of the community of Meadow Park would be happy to meet with Mr. Flores, I believe that's your baby, and the commissioners to discuss this issue when it comes up. I understand it's not there yet, but when it does, I hope that you let us all know when we can get together and figure things out and kill this thing, actually. I'd also like to add that this new traffic problem would delay school bus routes and your transit bus routes. They'd all have to rearrange their schedule, I'm sure. Especially on Forest Hill Boulevard. You've got Forest Hill High School, you've got schools down by Davis and Kirk, charter schools galore. I don't know how they're going to get to school on time. So the proposed apartment building is slated to be multifamily affordable housing. We currently enjoy a crime-free neighborhood, right? And I believe, as most everyone else in the community does, that this could potentially increase our crime rate. So in conclusion, I would ultimately like to see this project come to a screeching halt. This property has been the site of a church since 1961, as others have stated, and I don't think anyone in this community would really be opposed to having a new church built on that property. That would be totally doable. That way that you wouldn't interfere with any commuter traffic. I think most of us would probably attend that church.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so the bottom line is our roadways simply cannot sustain this influx of vehicles.
Thank you.
And Mr. Flores, if I got
Your time. No, the buzzer went off. We gave you a couple. We let you run over, but thank you.
Thank you.
Again, we appreciate you all being here, and there should be notice. So and when there's developers that do changes to the land use, there are signs that are put up. So you will know. But again, you can watch the county commission newsletters that tell you when our meetings are. I'm sorry? Go right ahead.
Yes, there was no sign, there was no notice.
The sign was posted, but there was no notice, there was no anything.
Okay, Patrick, we're going to stop the conversation now, but this gentleman right here can answer some questions.
For the board's benefit, there's an application in for a comprehensive plan amendment and a zoning application. There wouldn't be signs posted yet until the dates are set for public hearings. Hearings will occur at the Planning Commission, the Zoning Commission, and then this board. So there are a number of hearings that will be set. Those dates are not set yet. It is in review. You will see the signage and then the notifications to the respective property owners within the 500-foot boundary will be sent as well.
Okay, thank you. We have any more cards? That's it. Thank you all for coming here and sharing your opinion. We are adjourned for the day.
Mayor?
Oh, sorry. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you for that. I was going to say, let's make sure that when people speak, even if it's there, you have to come to the mic because there's people at home watching, and we need to make sure that it's recorded properly for the minutes. Commissioner Flores said something earlier. I just wanted to reiterate what Commissioner Flores said. And I heard some things said that I disagree with. If someone is a renter, that does not mean if you own and someone rents, that does not make you more important than the other person. I think that was short-sighted, and I think it was also disingenuous by the people who said that. I also want to make sure that we understand that everyone has a right to live, especially here in Palm Beach County. And when we talk about affordable living, we will dig into these issues. But to come here and disparage people who are not here or who may not have the fortune to own here in Palm Beach County, because let's be frank, most people who own in Palm Beach County now have to make a certain income. We're being priced out of paradise. So let's be very careful with the language that we use. I understand that people are upset that a new development may be coming to an area near you, but to sit here and disparage a group of people who live in Palm Beach County, I don't think that is reflective of who we are. And I'll tell you this, you all are better than that. Thank y'all. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Nope, I'm sorry, no, this is not about discussion anymore. The public comment is, a portion of this meeting is over. Minister Abruzzo?
I will be quick, hot off the presses, Madam Mayor. The food bank is going to do a food distribution at John Prince Park on November 7th. The details will be forthcoming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, front.